crazy to think about. Yes, so he has his pilot's license.
He's a pilot?
Yes, and so he flies himself to wherever he goes.
Can we make that like a tourist event? Can we get a sunset cruise around Greater Cincinnati with Ken Griffey Jr. as your pilot?
And wouldn't that be something though? Just to like the concept, like you step on. I think he said he owns like an 8-person plane, something like that, 8 or 10-person plane.
Nice.
And so he was on a podcast and he was talking and Ryan Clark was like, why would you buy a plane? And he was like, well, I travel anywhere from 18 to 22,000 miles a year. And this is what I was paying for fuel. And this is what I was paying to fly to all of these places. Yeah. And he said, so initially I bought an RV and drove it. But if I got to be from California to Pennsylvania in a week, like, that's, you've eaten it 6 days. Yeah. So he was like, I got my pilot's license and now I bought a plane.
And now if I want to have a fucking Jack and Coke over Omaha, I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so crazy.
I still don't think that's allowed, but I won't tell.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. You get down on the tarmac, pilot steps out a little buzzed, but he's got a backwards hat on in the sweetest swing in baseball. Are you doing anything? Probably not.
No.
Speaking of which, totally off topic, but while we're live, Corey, weren't you the one who brought up to me last week leaving Las Vegas?
Leaving Las Vegas.
The movie? Weren't we talking about that last week?
I don't think so.
It was like in between? No?
I don't think so.
Oh.
I don't know that movie.
With Nicolas, we were talking Nicolas Cage, and he won. Maybe it wasn't you. Okay,
is that where he got his Oscar?
Yeah, that's the one he won his Oscar.
Okay, so we were talking
I thought it was you who recommended it. I was going to just say horrendous piece of shit. Hated it.
Is that the one with Pedro Pascal?
Wow. What's that?
Is that what the movie you did with Pedro Pascal? Is that
No.
One?
No. That's like a fairly recent one.
I don't know.
I don't know. I've never seen Leaving Las Vegas.
It doesn't matter. Never mind. This doesn't matter anymore
anymore.
because I thought Corey was the one to tell me, and I was going to rip on him because I was like, I did not like it. Roger Ebert though, 4 stars.
Like me.
He loved it.
Well, chat, hello and welcome for those of you that have joined us. Tonight we're going to be discussing the AFC Over and Unders, brought to you by Jackpot Joey from Frank Brewing here in Tennessee.
Ooh.
And Miller Lite.
Todd, there's about 22 more of these left in the refrigerator. So when you're here on Sunday, you are more than welcome to take advantage of a few.
I'll dabble in a couple of those.
Yeah, it's not bad. I'll still take.
There will be 4 left by then.
Maybe. We'll see. It could be a long weekend.
Yeah, no. Dude,
pre-Labor Day. You got to start putting in the work now.
Dude, it's gonna be a wild weekend.
Jordan Battle just picked 6 Anthony Richardson.
Nice.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, just some sad news as a Cincinnati sports fan. Joey Votto retiring today. Or was it yesterday? I can't remember if it was yesterday or today.
No, it was yesterday, wasn't it, Todd?
I think it was yesterday.
Last night
last night.
Yeah.
Last night.
I was talking to Mary on the phone. Yeah, I was talking to Mary on the phone. Yeah.
Carl, Ricky, thanks for the likes.
That's the coolest. Like it was true Joey Votto fashion, his last game as a Red, to just get tossed. It's a beautiful thing.
Well, he got tossed as a Blue Jay, right? Technically.
Well, but he was in AAA. He got
tossed last night.
No, yeah, right. That's what, and then he made the Instagram post like less than 20 minutes after he got tossed.
Fellas, I hope I get tossed the night I retire too.
Fuck yeah, dude. Let's go. Let's go.
But
ain't that the dream?
Did any of you guys read the post that coincided with the video?
It was like, thanks, Mom and Dad, or something like that.
Yeah, but the thing that made me so sad about it, and I was like, it hit me hard. He was like, I'm just not good at baseball anymore. And I was like, oh, fuck, that's brute. Like, we all have our moments where, like, you try something for a long time, you're like, nah, this isn't fitting. Imagine playing, like, being paid to play the sport that you've loved since you were a kid, and then, like, having that moment of realization, like, oh, shit, I can't do this anymore. Like, that has to be brutal.
I think we all have little moments like that throughout our life, like obviously graduating college or high school or, anytime you're, big life changes, right? those little gut punches. When I moved away from Cincinnati for the first time, that was tough for sure.
Yeah, dude.
But
The first time I bent over and it hurt coming back up.
dude, one time I bent over to. I got this tote. I bent down to pick up this tote, and I just stood up and I was like, nope. I was literally on the floor for the next 3 days.
I'm currently nursing a lower back issue right now. So
And
Well, when you walk around that until the end of time, dude, yeah.
Yeah.
just hammering down across the 513. Bobby is.
Oh my God. All right. Well,
Doctor took one look at him and was like, "That's going to be back problems."
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if he. I'm not even sure if he had. What is the quote from Parks and Rec? I'm not even sure if he has the mumps. I'm not gonna finish it, but it's hilarious if you know what I'm talking about. So, but yeah. So a couple things I want to discuss over in the NFC before we hop into these over unders. Jahan Dotson traded today from the Commanders to the Eagles. So an in-division trade. This is the second in-division trade between the two teams this year. And I believe the first one happened on draft night, if I'm not mistaken from what I read. So guys, quick thoughts on Jahan Dotson to the Eagles and what that means for them moving forward.
More depth.
Yeah.
Just stupid depth at the receiver position.
A lot of skill guys going around. A fresh start for Jahan Dotson, even though I felt like Jaden Daniels could have been that fresh start as well. Obviously they're, moving in a different direction. They're adding, continuing to add draft capital. Third round pick for Jahan Dotson's a really good deal, I think, based on the production level. So I think it's a good trade for both teams, and it'll probably end up being the best thing for him as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like for the Eagles, who cares about the draft capital, right? Can he come in and help you win a Super Bowl this year?
Yeah.
They hammered down in this draft too. Like they maneuvered very well in this draft as well and earned some capital from this year's draft. So that third round pick to them was probably just like a little gift amongst one of the 5 trades they made over the draft weekend. And in return for that, you get a guy that really hasn't had a fair opportunity to, based on injury talent around to like kind of showcase. But I mean, I remember he's a first round pick, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or second round pick.
First.
Like that. Yeah. So, and his highlight footage from Penn State is stellar, and he made some big catches over the last couple of years. So I just see him fitting into an offense where there's so much love that you can give out in that offense. There's no reason that, he shouldn't be able to, bolster himself into a decent second contract.
Well, and for Washington, you have the regime that didn't draft you, right? So that first round draft capital that you put into him, they don't really necessarily feel that pressure for him to produce.
Good point.
The thing that I would temper expectation for on the Eagles side is because of that, like you're not just giving up on a wide receiver if he has talent. And I'm not saying that he doesn't. It could be a bad situation, fresh situation, right? That we see that all the time. But I don't think he's going to come in and be a necessary difference maker. From non-Eagles fans, if you're just a fan of the game or like a fantasy perspective, like probably don't love the amount of targets it takes away from a lot of these guys on that roster already. When you talk about Brown, Smith, and Barkley, and Hurts as well. So it'd just be interesting dynamic to see.
Dallas Goedert.
But from a pure, Goddard. But like from a football perspective, it's just it's another weapon on offense. But for the casual fans of the Eagles or maybe fantasy, it's just more mouths to feed.
Yeah. I think just from an NFC perspective, you look at a team. I'm going to draw a weird comparison here, but I think it works. You look at a team like LA, and we were like, oh, they're all in on the Super Bowl, and it paid off, right? And they went and won a Super Bowl. And now we're 3 years removed from that, and we're already talking about the Rams again as a contender in the NFC. So it just goes to show you, as long as you've got the quarterback, the offensive scheme, and a couple of core pieces here or there, and I think that you obviously have that on the Eagles. I think they've gotten that in the draft. You're kind of okay foregoing draft capital to just make sure you get it done. Let's just let's mortgage 20 years from now. Let's just go win as many Super Bowls as we can right now. I think that's kind of their mindset.
Yeah, I mean, they've got the talent to do it.
Yeah, what's the success rate on hitting on a third round pick anyway? Like, I'm not saying this is necessarily a great move for the Commanders either, right? But it seems like it's a clean break. The interdivision New regime trading him, part of it's a little weird to me because it's
Yeah, I don't get that. You got to play him
I don't
twice
get
a year.
that. But maybe that's if the offer is that much better, like if you're looking to move him and the other offers were 4th and 5th round picks, and it's like, well, same
to be
division,
honest,
but it's such a better deal.
Yeah, but it's not though, because honestly, an Eagles 3rd round is going to be like a 4th round pick.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So like, imagine they're getting offered like 5th and 6th.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's a good point too.
All right, boys, ready to dive in?
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
Carp Daddy, we missed you too, buddy. Happy to have you back in here, sir.
Yes, sir. Hope you're doing well. All right. Well, let's, without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into it. We'll start with the AFC East. I know everybody saw the memes of Mike McDaniel today. I thought they were pretty funny. What 2 years in Miami will do to you. But
seriously, his hair started doing cocaine.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Social media is a hilarious thing. But yeah, Dolphins 9.5 is the over under for them. Last year, I believe they won, was it 11, 12 games?
Yeah, the over definitely hit last year.
Yeah. I know they were way above this line. Obviously, in the division, the Jets getting a little bit better, getting Aaron Rodgers back. Patriots getting immensely worse somehow. And then you got the Bills, who've been pretty consistent, minus Stephon Diggs. So 9.5's the line. Aaron, lead us off. What you got?
Yeah. Gonna be the same tune that we had last week, right? Hey, pretty good line, Vegas. You know what you're doing. Congratulations. I think I have a feeling how a couple people might pick this one out, but listen, I think Miami is still really talented. It's how much do you trust Tua? Obviously, the Dolphins do, as they made that investment into him. You can say all you want about the injuries we saw from him 2 years ago. He played the whole season last year.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see. I know with his new look, he looked a little unrecognizable coming into training camp as somebody who you were thought. I don't think you need to lose weight, Tua, but he went ahead and did that anyway. The one thing I like about the Dolphins is they know who they are in terms of what kind of skill set they're looking for. They're like, we're going to beat you with speed, and then we're going to beat you again with speed. And they just drafted for that again. I'm going to take the over here. Give me McDaniels in his 3rd year. I think 10 is more than attainable. They won the division last year. I think they can do it again. Obviously, the Jets losing Rodgers was part of the reason for that. There was a little bit of a wayward for somebody to come in and kind of gobble up a couple of those wins. The Dolphins were happy to do so. I think they have another good season. I think 10 wins is right on the nose.
Gotcha. Todd.
Yeah, man, I'm kind of just perusing through the depth chart here just to see what additions, subtractions, anything. They're getting Jalen Phillips back to start the year, coming off a torn Achilles. I think that's a big thing for them to get the defense right. But yeah, I think most, if not all, of Aaron's points are valid here. I'm not obviously, Aaron, you said it, the Dolphins believe in Tua. I'm still not 110% sold that he's he hasn't won a playoff game yet.
I don't need him to win a playoff game to win 10 games. Do you not?
Sure.
Yeah.
But I think the AFC East is, obviously we're saying this barring no injury, it's more level. I think the Bills got worse. I think the Jets automatically get better with Aaron Rodgers. But that being said, this is a wild card team to me. So I agree with you. I'm going to take the over, and it's 10 games.
Gotcha. Corey.
Yeah, I was actually, I know that you guys were probably sitting here thinking, yeah, Corey's absolutely taking the under here. He hates McDaniel, which isn't true, by the way. I just don't suck his dick like the national media does. I'm looking at the schedule, though, for the Dolphins. Starts very favorably.
Yeah,
right?
I was just looking at it as well.
This is a very easy start to the schedule with the only three tough games through their first 2, 4, 6, 8 games are Bills twice. So they get going to Buffalo out of the way by November 3rd.
I was gonna say you avoid hopefully the snow.
Right. On
That's
the
nice.
road in Indianapolis. that's pretty much it, actually. Out of the first 8 games, it's just the Bills twice in Indy out of the first 8 games. But from there, it gets pretty rough.
Though, yeah.
The end, it gets really rough. You've got Rams. You've got Jets twice. You've got Texans. You've got 49ers. Then you're going into Cleveland for Sunday night football. That sounds fucking terrible. Listen, guys, there are 10 games that they could. There are 10 games that they could absolutely lose, and you wouldn't be surprised at all. I'm taking the under on the Dolphins here, just from a strategic standpoint. 2 overs here. 9 sounds great. You can be. I could see a wild card Dolphins team getting in at 9 as well. So if you're telling me 9 games and a wild card, sure. Go ahead.
Real quick, Corey. So when you're playing the schedule game like that, and I just to break this down just a little bit, I can appreciate exactly what you're saying on the front end of it, right? But in theory, it's a lot easier to predict out the beginning of the schedule than it is the end of the schedule due to injuries and things like that.
Sure.
Odds are teams are going to be at their healthiest at the beginning of the year.
Sure.
So you probably want to play the worst teams at the beginning of the year. Again, if you looked at this schedule last year and you saw the Jets twice at the end, you'd be like, shit. And then it would have been, you know what I mean? It would have been a cakewalk. So is this not the better way? Like, just to play devil's advocate to the argument you just made, isn't this probably best case scenario for the Dolphins, at least in terms of how, if this was, even throughout the entire schedule, like let's go good team, bad team, good team, bad team.
I would
Which
prefer,
would you rather have?
I'd rather the front of my schedule be tougher. Like, I'm very excited that I have the Chiefs week 2 and not week 17 for this 3rd year in a row.
Okay, fair.
Especially as a team that, like my team, at least knowing my team, starts slow.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Again, those things can be different team to team as well.
Yeah.
But like your point about getting the Buffalo out of the way early is fair too.
But
no, I just wanted to ask that because in my head, I'm like, give me some of the worst teams at the end. We'll figure it out when we get there.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I don't know. I think 9 makes sense here. I think we'll get to the rest of the division here in a little bit, but the AFC East is going to be a battle for sure. I can't necessarily tell you who I think is going to win that division right now.
Sure. So I was also perusing the schedule here, and realistically speaking, I think that there's 8 games in their first 10 that they could/should win. I believe that they'll split with the Bills. That's usually the case. And then in the back half of the season, they would only need to win 2 of those remaining 6 games, which they're all going to be pretty tough games, especially considering they wrap their season up 49ers, Browns, Jets. So I'm going to take the over here, and I'm actually going to lock this one because I don't trust the other 3 lines. I think the other 3 lines are too damn close. This is where I think the Dolphins have a talented roster. They play well in the regular season. If this line included playoffs, and it was a little bit large, if there was playoff implications with this line, I wouldn't trust it. But if it's regular season, I'm locking the over.
Hammer down.
So just because the last 3 lines in this division, I just don't like them. So.
No, that's fair. I would say of the 4 divisions in the AFC, this was the hardest one for me to find a lock for.
Yep, we're just gonna trust Money Mike down there in old Miami and see if he can come through. So, all right, boys. Well, we were talking a lot about the Jets. Let's go ahead and talk about them. Same line, 9.5 games. You're getting Aaron Rodgers back. Obviously, you've got Breece Hall coming off a really awesome season last year. The season we all expected him to have 2 years ago, but he got hurt. So this team could be in for it as long as Rodgers can stay healthy. And who's 42 now, 41, something like that. We're definitely at the end of Aaron Rodgers for sure. We're getting there.
He's 40.
40. Okay.
He'll be 41 by the end of the season.
Got it. All right, cool. Corey, lead us off. You got the Jets 9.5. What do you got?
I think if we put this roster on, if we took this roster and put it in any other uniform, we're talking about them as a Super Bowl team. This team is absolutely fucking loaded to the gills, and it's crazy. This is the easiest lock for me. 9.5 over, taking the lock. This is 10, 11, 12 win team easily, I think. Obviously, there's a huge risk. We're talking about a geriatric football player essentially coming off an Achilles injury. This is a huge risk from my perspective. But I think a lot of people are just forgetting like how good Aaron Rodgers just is at football.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he is easily the most talented thrower. I'm not saying quarterback. He's easily the most talented thrower that we have seen in football 15 years easily. Like the guy just has it. And not to mention, this is probably the best wide receiver core that he's had ever. Dare we say ever? I don't know. It's getting close. Devontae Adams obviously is pretty good, but who else did he have with him? I think this is just a really scary offense, that what they can do on the ground, what they can do through the air. Not to mention, we're looking at probably a top 5 AFC defense, if not top 5 NFL defense in these New York Jets. So there's a lot there. And again, the only reason I'm not like advocating for like Super Bowl futures on the Jets is because of the Jets, and they have given us reason to be disappointed time and time again. So 10 seems achievable, very achievable for this team. Go ahead and give me the lock on the Jets on the over.
Cool. Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, Corey makes some great points. I mean, you look at this roster top to bottom. I mean, they have some of, if not the most blue chip players from a roster standpoint you're talking about. By that, I mean top 5 guys at those positions, right?
Yep.
Now, I'm a little weary of, and Corey, you mentioned the receiver core. Like, yeah, Garrett Wilson's phenomenal. And we've seen him play that well, but I still think they're pretty thin there. Mike Williams has been made a class for most of his career. That's a move they made on for receiver. You know, I'm not really familiar with Xavier Gibson. I know he was a first-year guy last year. Interesting that they brought Tyrod in, because obviously you have to prepare for somebody who can come in and win some games should Aaron Rodgers miss time. But I'm still talking about a 40-year-old coming off of an Achilles injury at MetLife Field with a coach who's 18 and 33. I'm going to take the under, and I'm going to lock it.
Oh, shit.
I don't get why they're still with Saleh. I just that's the differentiator.
You don't? He was a first-year coach, and then his quarterback went out with an Achilles.
He's going into his 4th year as coach.
Okay.
He's 18 and 33 as a record as a head coach.
Well, did he draft Zach Wilson?
No, but I'm sure he was in the meetings.
Wait, was he there when they drafted him?
I was
legit.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I thought you were saying like, was he the one who physically drafted it? And I'm like, well,
no. That's what I was literally asking. Were they the one that drafted Zach Wilson?
Yeah.
Todd.
So we got reverse locks here.
Yeah,
interesting.
I mean, you guys, the roster's nuts, guys. I'm looking through this here, and I mean, well, yeah. I was going to say there's 8 different positions where somebody in that position is a top 5 player. Right? And 4 of those and 4 of those positions are top 3 players. Right? Like, I believe that Breece Hall has the potential to be a top 3 running back in the league. Sauce Gardner is 1A, 1B, whatever. Yeah, you know, like there is so much depth. It's scary. And you know, Aaron, you brought up some kind of the thinness at the wide receiver position, and you know, I think really the Jets have a kind of a sleeper of a wide receiver that's a rookie this year in Malachi Corley from Western Kentucky. I think you're going to hear his name get called quite a bit on, you know, at 4:05 on a Sunday afternoon with Aaron Rodgers throwing him, you know, a bomb down the field, or, you know, you're going to hear his name called quite a bit. I think that he's a weapon that was kind of, you know, when the Jets drafted him, that was Saleh was as soon as they drafted him, he said, "This is the best bit we had in the draft so far." And you watch the footage of this guy, he's a real deal talent. I think he'll benefit very nicely from having someone like Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball. Garrett Wilson's 1,000-yard receiver with a healthy quarterback. I mean, that's with what the season that he was able to put together with the shit that was thrown out on that field is incredible.
I mean, he's gone 1,000 both years with bad quarterback play. So like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, and I really believe that we're gonna. I mean, you're gonna see, as you know, fantasy's not real life, but people are going to be real high on Breece Hall in fantasy football this year, and I think there's some validity to that.
For sure.
top 5
Yeah,
pick.
I'm taking the over here as well, fellas. I can't see a world where this team doesn't win 11 games.
Oh, they're the
Seriously.
Jets.
Are you
Yeah,
you
right.
locking it in?
It's
I am
I
not
haven't
locking it
seen
in.
it ever. You know?
Yeah, you have. They've been in the AFC
That's-
Championship game back-to-back.
Yeah,
years.
but even then everyone thought
Mark
Mark
Sanchez.
Sanchez sucked.
Mark
Like their
Sanchez
defense is really
and the
good, which
infamous
could be the
football
case
ball.
for this year. I just want to see it 1 year, and I get the Rodgers bump, and I also think every point you guys have made is more than valid. It's a vibes thing. It's
absolutely.
the Jets vibes.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add. I'm definitely taking the over here. Granted, Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy. I think this is a pretty easy one, but I just don't trust it. The Achilles injury on that field, like that field is notorious for wrecking people's bodies and lives. So I'm taking the over, but I just can't lock it just because you just have no idea what's going to happen on that turf. So cool. Well, let's move on to the Stephon Diggs Buffalo Bills. The highest line in this division at 10.5 games, which I believe you could argue that the Buffalo Bills have not improved over the offseason, yet they still have the highest line in this division. So, Todd, I'll let you lead this one off. Buffalo Bills, 10.5.
Boys, I'm just going to lead with this is going to be my lock for the AFC East.
Ooh.
And I'm taking the under. I think that this is a one-trick pony on offense. I'm not super sold that you draft a wide receiver at the beginning of the second round and he's going to be your top target. Not super sold on that. They lost Matt Milano for the season, and oh, by the way, their whole secondary is gone. Everybody was a free agent. And I don't believe that they really got any better defensively. Offensively, the only thing that they did was make sure that they locked in Deion Dawkins, which is the right thing to do when you have a quarterback like Josh Allen. But there's nothing here that tells me that they've improved in a way that, based on the way that they're slotted in this over-under, that they're going to win the AFC East. I don't believe that they're going to win the AFC East. I don't even believe that they'll win 10 games. I think that this is a losing record team.
Wow.
I really feel that way. I think, and losing record being 8-9, right? I'm not saying this is a 6-11 team, something like that. I don't really have a lot of faith that that this team, specifically the offense led by Josh Allen, is going to be able to overcome the volume of turnovers that we've seen him create over the last few years. I don't think that this defense is going to be able to keep points off the board. And you look at their schedule. I feel like that this is 8-19. So I'm locking the under here.
I think we can all agree that the Bills Super Bowl window has officially closed. They obviously have regressed year after year after year, and then the Diggs drama didn't help, and then he ended up leaving anyway. So that him being in Buffalo was basically pointless. So the whole point of bringing him in was to give Allen a target so they could elevate and go to a Super Bowl. That never happened. So we can call the Stephon Diggs experiment a failure, and I don't understand why the Texans brought him in, but we can talk about that later. 10.5 is high for this. I'm taking the under. I think Allen still has the ability to keep them in football games and help them win games, that they necessarily shouldn't win. I think 10.5 is probably a game high. I think they're going to be either like I think 10 wins is about right. 9 on the low end. So I'm also taking the under, barring anything crazy happening. So that's what I've got. Corey.
Yeah, I think, while I'm following suit here, I'm taking the under. While I say that, like, I don't know if I'm as down on them. Like, I could still see them winning 10 football games this year very easily. And that's kind of why I'm taking this, because I do agree. Like, I think this team is getting not better. I'll say that. And they could still win 10 football games and my bet hits. So, like, that's why I'm taking the under here. There is, however, I'm going to draw a comparison. This is going to go back to, more of our younger days of watching the NFL. there's a team that this is just making eerily similar comparisons to. The San Diego Chargers.
Phillip Rivers.
This, like,
I
at what
I
point?
really like where you're going with this.
At what point is Josh Allen going to become the Phillip Rivers of this group of guys that is always kind of in the conversation? He's always really highly producing. He's really, really good. First ballot Hall of Famer, but just not really ever on that team that is able to, like, legitimately compete for a Super Bowl. And Phillip Rivers had a shot at it. Obviously, we know that, that San Diego team was really, really good.
Best offensive defense in the league.
Corey's trying to just absolutely destroy Haley Steinfeld. Just make her have 11 kids.
Yeah. So, but I was like, "Where's he going?" Like, I was like, "What am I doing?" But yeah,
I was confused too.
But no, that's kind of. I'm not saying that we're at this point yet, and obviously the Bills have the ability for a lot of things to change. But I think Todd, we kind of mentioned it. Matt Milano, this team's defense disintegrated last year when he went out. And now we're losing him for an entire another season, which is terrible, by the way. Football is better
horrible.
when Matt Milano plays.
Absolutely.
And now this is back-to-back season-ending injuries. You got to think. I mean, from his perspective, how much more is he going to put up with?
Yeah.
So
this is year 8 for him too. So
exactly. So he's got 2 more years until he's completely vested into the NFL's benefit program. I think it's 10 years. Once you've completed that, then you're completely covered, you and all your immediate family for life. That's a lot to deal with. So I am taking the under here, but I don't know if I'm necessarily like, I'm ready to say like this team is going to miss the playoffs. I still could absolutely see them. I honestly, both my Jets and Bills bets can hit, and the Bills still win the division.
That's fair.
So
that's a good point. Aaron.
Yeah, guys. I mean, I think you guys have pretty much taken all of the bear points, bear market points on the Bills here. So not that I'm certainly saying I'm going to take the under here, but let's hit a couple of the bull or the bill points. This team has actually won the division, 5 straight years. Josh Allen has been the healthiest quarterback that we've seen at the position, especially with the way that he plays. Now, granted, is that tempting fate even bringing that up? Probably not. But like we saw how decimated that quarterback position was last year, and really how it cost a lot of teams some wins. I think this is going to be a little bit of a bloodbath of a division. Maybe you go 3-3 or 4-2 and call that a success for the team that wins this division. So I just look at the schedule and it's tough, right? Like, again, I don't want to just sit here and play the schedule game and go, well, here's 1 loss, here's 2. There's 3 in there that I think would be pretty tough for them to win. But the Bills are still the Bills, and I think they can kind of go up against anyone. I'm going to take a flyer here on the over, fully for the sake of, it's just kind of I'm going to just side with history here over the last 5 years, which was crazy to say over the Bills because, in my lifetime, the Bills haven't exactly been the picture perfect franchise, but the wide receiver position scares me. The defense isn't exactly loaded, but Josh Allen just somehow wins football games in the regular season. And I actually love the comparison that Corey made to Phillip Rivers. I think obviously not in their style of player game, but like aura or just like of that tier or level of quarterback play that you're getting, where it's like they're always going to be there. So Bobby, I disagree that their Super Bowl window's closed. I think the window might be pushed shut a little bit, but I still think as long as he's on this team and he's playing at the level that he's played, they're always going to be in it. The turnovers scare me for sure, but I'm not ready to, where you guys are saying you think the Jets are going to make that jump. I'm just not there yet. So somebody in this division is going to have to win some games. And I think Buffalo is, better suited and has a better resume than anybody else, just quite frankly, based on recent success. And again, I'm with you though. Like if it's 11 games, it's not 12.
Right.
It's not 12 games. Like
it's right at the line.
I'm kind of surprised I'm taking the over, but just I'm almost so shocked how easily you guys took it.
Yeah, I mean, just dovetailing off the comparison, like the Chargers have seemed to always have a pretty solid run game. and that's where the Bills lack outside of Josh Allen. And I think that's one aspect that has not allowed that offense to truly flourish. And then obviously with the holes on defense, you lost your commander in chief on defense, and we saw what happened last year to that defense after he came out. Like, they fucking crumbled. And if he's not going to be there the whole season, there is no shot that they even touch the over. So this would have been a good lock for somebody, but with it being the Bills, it's just you just never know. So to your point, Aaron, like, it's the Bills. They can still win football games. That's the only reason I didn't touch it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, no, but it's kind of like what Corey said. Like, they could win 10 games and still make the playoffs, and he wins. And then I can look at this like how it was last year, where the Bills can win 11 games, and I still don't think they're a contender.
Yeah. Completely agree. All right, well, let's move on to the worst team in football, the New England Patriots. 4.5 games.
I'm taking the under. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on these guys, but because I don't think there's a whole lot to say. But I'm taking the under. Not a whole lot to cheer about. Massive rebuild in progress.
Sure. What's up?
Yeah,
Dad?
first year without Belichick, right? Like, I'm taking the under. It's a very tough under to take just because it's 4.5, right? Like, 5 wins, sure, why not?
Did you guys see the Ramondre Stevenson clip?
No.
What was about the offense?
No, wasn't it Ramondre when they asked him? Yeah, they asked, man, what's it like? One of your key guys being gone. He's like, yeah, first year without Bill. He's like, we're talking about Matt Judon. He's like, oh yeah, Judon. Yeah, okay. It's so awkward.
Oh yeah.
Good old Ramon. He got paid. He don't give a fuck.
He's a beast, dude.
Yeah, he's awesome. It sucks that he's going to be wasting a few years in New England, but it is what it is.
They paid him for 4, right?
Yeah.
Judon?
No, Ramondre.
No, I was going to say, Ramondre. Yeah.
No, Judon just got traded.
He got traded.
Shit, dude.
Speaking of the trades, the Falcons are beefing up, dude.
Hammer the go 2-15 and just dangle that first number 1 overall pick to somebody. That's what I'm doing if I'm the Patriots.
It was funny though for all the NFC teams that made those. Like, we saw that, like, we already talked about the Eagles trade, obviously the Falcons ones. Those are all teams we took the over on already. So I was like, yeah, let's fucking go.
Yeah. I'm feeling real good about locking that over on the Falcons after that Judon trade. So you actually didn't lock that one, big dog.
No, I did after we. Oh, you didn't take my trade? Okay.
You locked the Bucks under.
You didn't take my trade. That's
I'm sorry. No, you locked.
You guys traded.
You locked this.
You traded?
You traded.
You guys made a lock trade.
You were sipping on some bourbon, so maybe you don't remember this, but you were like,
I was.
No, Bobby. You were. I was like, yeah, actually, now that I'm talking I wish I would lock the Falcons. You're like, well, I'll let you do that if you let me do this. I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like, yeah.
Okay, I'll change it real quick. We've got witnesses here. Hold on.
I can't attest it did happen.
No, that's fine. I guess I was pretty toasty last
Happy
week.
Bob.
That's okay.
Happy Bob. Is everybody taking the under on the Pats?
Yeah. I don't really see any world. Do you remember what the other one was? What mine was? Does anybody?
Cool. Sure don't.
Awesome.
Just go back and look, Nick. Or after the show's over.
I'm looking here.
Just watch the old show.
Watch the show from last week.
I don't have time for that right now, so I'll have to do it later. All right.
Oh, you mean you're not
everyone else? If you don't mind tuning in, yeah.
No, I have to go find it. That's gonna take a minute. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to a division that we're all passionate about, and that would be the AFC North.
Oh, okay.
I figured we got 5 guests in here. Let's go ahead and
give them what they want.
Let's go ahead and give them what they want, what they're asking for. So even the Chiefs fans and anybody else, they're going to be excited about this one. So seeing what we're talking about. So
yeah, Bengals live rent free in all Chiefs fans' heads. So it's good.
All right. Well, let's start with the Baltimore Ravens. Few key things happened in their offseason. Obviously, they lost Patrick Queen. They gained Derrick Henry. Obviously, they've got Lamar Jackson and hopefully a healthy running back regimen there in Baltimore.
Hopefully not, but go ahead.
I just don't want to see him get hurt again, dude. Like, you just feel for the guy. Like,
Who are we talking about? J.K. Dobbins.
J.K.
He's not on the
Dobbins
Ravens.
He's on the Chargers.
Yeah, he's on the Chargers
I didn't
now.
realize he got traded.
Oh yeah.
Well, I hope he stays healthy. even better for us then. All right. Well, Aaron, lead us
No.
off. Ravens 10.5. Who
No,
you got?
they have Derrick Henry now. It's
Yeah.
not better.
The Baltimore Ravens are obviously the thorn in all of our balls, right? It's the one team that we can all come together and agree on and say, fuck these guys.
Yeah,
right?
fuck 'em,
Like,
fuck 'em.
I'm sick of these
Yeah.
fucking assholes. What's that line there again, Bob? 10.5? 11.5?
10.5.
Here's the thing, guys. Baltimore was really good last year, and I think they only got better. And I kind of don't like it. Obviously, look, I'm just gonna make it short and sweet here, guys. I'm taking the over. I still think Baltimore is really, really good.
Yeah.
Sure. Todd.
Yeah, it's just annoying. This is so annoying. Aaron's right. They got better. They didn't. I don't.
They didn't get worse.
I don't see any. I don't see any regression across any position really. I think just from a drafting perspective, I think Rosengarten, the other tackle that they drafted from Washington, the second round, is going to be one of those guys that, offensive linemen, guys all over social media are going to fucking have a wet dream about this dude because he just doesn't give up any pressures. And he's going to get to go up against some of the best in the league on Sundays, and so he'll get put to the test right away. Yeah, I'm taking the over too because that's 11 games. That's 11 wins for them.
Yep.
A healthy Lamar Jackson has proven that he can do that time after time.
Absolutely. Corey.
Like Cyndi Lauper. I think this is a very easy over. Yeah, sing it, Todd. This is a very easy over. I think the Super Bowl winner comes out of the AFC again this year. Whether that's Kansas City, whether that's Baltimore, whether that's Cincinnati, we can continue to go down this list of high achieving, high over under teams. But 11 wins makes perfect sense. I think there could be multiple 11 plus win teams in the AFC North this year. And we'll get to that in a little bit, but yeah, give me the over on Baltimore. The reigning MVP, weakest MVP in recent memory, but reigning MVP nonetheless, Lamar Jackson as well. So
yeah.
And Bob, I'm sorry, I meant to say it and I did not, but that is my lock.
Okay. Yeah, this is also going to be my lock too. I'm surprised not everybody's not locking this one. 10.5 just seems super light for Baltimore. They lost Patrick Queen, but like you guys said, they didn't get worse. I would say that they improved otherwise. So I think we're gonna get the same.
Secondary is a little weak. Let me just throw that out there. That is the weakness on Baltimore. Their secondary got worse.
I would say the defense is the only place where they took a step back, but that offense got immensely better. Their offensive line got better. And if you give Lamar Jackson time to either think about running or throwing, that's really bad news for everybody. So
yeah, the secondary is I'm just still terrified of Kyle Hamilton back there.
For the record, Derrick Henry doesn't scare me very much. By the way, I just want to put that out there. We've had to go against him multiple times in very impactful games, and he has not done much. So he's not Derrick Henry of 4 years ago. This isn't the same.
No, but I think it's picking your poison at the goal line when you're running a read option with.
I don't see a read option happening, but I get what you're saying. Yes, they're going to be very effective inside the 5. I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. Play action is going to be a bitch inside the 5-yard line. So
I'm with you, Corey. Derrick Henry has defied the odds of age at his position up to this point.
Yeah.
There's just something about I think we all said the same thing when Derrick Henry went to the Ravens. It was of fucking course.
Of course.
It just
That's why
it's stupid. It's so stupid.
When Brandon Ayuk was of it, I was like, oh, he's a Raven. That's exactly what came to my head.
Yeah. Right.
That's hilarious. All right, boys. Well, 2 of you have a vested interest in this team. Bengals, 10.5. Same line as the Ravens.
Vested interest. It's just different.
I was gonna say.
Good point. I guess you're right. We all have an interest in every single team in this division. Just depends on what your perspective is. But yeah, 10.5 games, same line as the Ravens. most people in this offseason have been debating who's going to win this division. Is it going to be the Ravens? Is it going to be the Bengals? Obviously, the Lions say that it's going to be close. Do you guys want to lead this off, or do you want to wrap it up?
I can kick it off.
Sure.
So, a couple of things going on right now in Cincinnati, mainly of which my name this evening. What are we doing? Sign Jamar Chase. Just get it done. That said,
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. I would say it's going to happen in the next 5 days, calendar days, that you will see the Jamar Chase deal announced.
For sure.
That said, I believe Chad Ochocinco when he says that Jamar won't step on the field unless he has a deal. I believe him.
I don't blame him.
I don't blame him either. It's hard. It's hard not to. Who cares? If he wants a planet, give it to him. I don't give a fuck. Win a Super Bowl. What the fuck do you, Mike Brown, you're dead in fucking 10 years max. Do it. Don't you want to see one? Don't you just want to see one before you die? Just do the deal. I don't care what name it Jamar Chase Stadium. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care. Just get it done. That would probably kill a lot of the revenue. Anyway.
On planet Jamercury.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Exactly. Anyway, so getting back to like the X's and O's and the Jamars and Joes, the Bengals have probably one of the easiest schedules in the NFL this year. Top 5 easiest schedules. The only problem with that is they also are getting absolutely schedule fucked again for the second year in a row, in that they have I think it's 3 games in 10 days or something stupid like that. It's absolutely fucking asinine. It's 12 days, Todd. It's something stupid like that. Anyway, they're getting absolutely fucked again by the because something similar like that happened last year. Also, but one thing working in their advantage, this is one of the latest buys Joe Burrow has had in his career, if not the latest buy that the Bengals have had. Normally, they're getting a very early buy, which I always prefer one a little bit later in the year. You can kind of get that reprieve before you head down the final stretch. First full training camp Joe Burrow's ever had. First normal full training camp he's ever had in his career.
Isn't he not throwing every day?
Well, that's like load management.
Yeah, but like that's not normal.
So
veterans rest.
Corey, I think that schedule thing you were talking about really early on in the season. They play the Commanders on the 23rd. They play the Panthers 6 days later, and then they play the Ravens 7 days later. So they have 3 games in a 13-day window.
That's crazy.
That's nuts.
It's nuts.
That's insulting.
Yeah, like what the fuck are you doing? Why would you?
I was like, we're on Christmas now too, bitches.
Yeah, guess what? You got 3 games in less than 2 weeks. Have fun. Like, what are you doing? Why would you do that?
That's injury city.
Yeah, right, exactly. So I don't understand that. But main concerns for this team, obviously, interior defensive line. That's the biggest gaping hole right now. Deepest offensive line the Bengals have had in Joe Burrow's career, which is a fucking crazy statement to have to say. But they've got some fucking dogs on the offensive line right now, and I'm excited to see what they can do. Excited to see what Chase Brown can do. Sorry, Todd, I'm kind of monopolizing this.
Take your time, buddy.
Lions Bengals Super Bowl.
Dude, as somebody that Ryan, that's my good neighbor, my good buddy Ryan. He's a huge Honolulu Blue bleeding Lions fan, and he's an awesome guy. I hope for God's sake that doesn't happen, because I will lose friends and potentially employees just based on the way I'll be handling that the weeks leading up to that. I have to go to Cincinnati. There's no way I could watch it here. There's no way.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it. Would have to come be with the boys. But anyway, I think that this team can absolutely win at least 12 football games this year. Obviously, health is a huge concern, but go ahead and give me the over on this one. I am not locking it though.
Gotcha. Todd.
Yeah, Corey brought it up. It's top 3 strength of schedule in terms of softest schedule in the league. That's the benefit of going 9-8 in the best division in the fucking NFL. Corey brought up the interior defensive line. I think a lot of that is just, you lose a guy like DJ Reader, and that's a big deal. That's a glue piece to a defense. I am interested to see. Yeah, I am interested to see the rotation of the defensive line as a whole, because I think the edge rushing platoon is a little bit more unique than it has been in years past as well. I just had his name and I lost it. The edge rusher that they drafted from Ole Miss in the 4th round. I cannot think of his name right now. Doesn't matter.
I'm lost.
Has had an exceptional camp. Has played very well in the preseason. Is very similar size to that of Sam Hubbard. So Sam Hubbard being a little bit of a beefier edge rusher than the norm. God, I cannot remember his name for the life of me right now. But thank you. But I think Miles Murphy, this is a good opportunity for him to kind of load in and get some really good snaps.
He's out. He's missing 4 to 6 weeks.
What that happened today?
No, probably Bears joint practice. He's out 4 to 6 weeks, but you still got Joseph Asai.
Yeah, Joseph Asai. This dude from Ole Miss is going to get a really nice opportunity. Offensively, there's a ton of, just a myriad of weapons, right? If running back is the weakest position and you're, platooning Zach Moss and Chase Brown, I still feel like you're in a really, really good spot. I'm taking the over here too, and my over is just based on this is a soft schedule for a very talented team. That's it.
Fair enough.
Soft schedule for a good team.
Aaron,
what's that? What's the number again? 10.5.
C.
Yeah. Listen, guys. I think this is all. I know you guys are going to be eternal optimists about the Bengals, but you guys are actually pretty real about it too. So I'm not trying to say that you guys are
Cedric Johnson
at the glass half full. This whole season comes down to Joe Burrow. The Jamar Chase thing will figure itself out. Also, Jamercury, I had Jamar's just sitting right there. Like, what am I doing?
Jamar's, dude. Yeah, come on.
What the fuck, man?
Guys, I expect better out of myself. I just want you to know that.
Yes,
listen, top to bottom, I think that the Bengals can rival one of the best, rosters in the AFC. Again, if Burrow is healthy. I don't know whether he's going to stay healthy or not. What are you guys hearing as Bengals fans? Like, I'm getting a lot of conflicting reports where it's like, we've never seen this injury out of a quarterback before, to he's fine. Like, what?
He's fine.
You think he's fine?
Yeah.
So obviously I'm concerned about his long laundry list of injuries. They all don't necessarily seem to be related though. I mean, we saw this team contending for the Super Bowl just a couple years ago with a lot of these cornerstone pieces. I think the soft record is baked into that number, and I'm still leaning towards the over. I'm going to take the over here with the Bengals. Again, this is really just, but the second Burrow goes down, I guess the reason I'm taking the over is we saw Burrow go down last year. Jake Browning is still on the team, and they won 9 games. I still think this roster can compete with a lot of these, especially these teams that they're, going to be lined up against. Also, just the Jermaine Burton draft, I was like, I hate you guys so much. Just hate it. And they're like, hey, let's just get T. Higgins 2.0. It's fine.
We haven't talked about Mike Gesicki once.
Yeah, I'm not he doesn't really move the needle for me, but I also think I've never been a.
That's fair.
I've always thought that Joe Mixon has been very overrated throughout his career. I know we've talked about this before. I personally have.
That's fine.
I don't think they're going to miss a step with Moss and Brown. Is where I'm going with that. I think system wise, their skill sets are going to line up. Yeah, I'm not saying Mixon was bad by any means, but I also think that the way that the Bengals got their running backs involved, I think Mixon was the beneficiary of that more so than I don't think he's going to be great in Houston.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chase Brown, was arguably a better back than Mixon last year in spots, especially as far as flow of that offense. And you said it perfectly. Corey, this is a passing offense, and guys like Zach Moss and Chase Brown fit perfectly into that scheme.
Yeah, they're going to throw the ball 35 times.
Where they're catching checkdowns and running screens and getting behind blockers and executing in the passing game. Like that's what this is. And the Bengals' success, obviously the schedule is relatively easy, but it all comes down to whether or not Joe Burrow can stay healthy. Like, are we going to get a complete healthy Joe Burrow season? We have yet to see it.
Saw it twice already.
Okay, well, the year that we saw it, he went to the Super Bowl. So, like,
Corey, it is a legitimate concern.
It's a legitimate concern.
It's the same concern that you should have for Lamar Jackson then.
Maybe.
It's just, but no one talks about that. This is such a huge talking point. But do we just forget that 2 of the last 3 years Lamar Jackson spent the end of the season on the bench during playoff push?
He has yet to have a season-ending injury. Like,
false. He ended the season 2 years ago on the bench, losing a game to Cincinnati while Snoop Huntley played quarterback in the wild card round.
Yep.
It's not true.
But didn't he come back the following week?
Yeah, I mean, the lowest amount of games.
No, the season was over. The season was over.
Yeah.
There were 2 straight years where he played 12 games. But outside of that, 16, 15, 15, 16, I don't think.
But we're looking at such a minute sample size, but we're not willing to do the same for Lamar. That's my only point. Like, where are the goalposts set up? We're talking about a guy that 2 of the last 3 seasons went to the AFC
I love how this is such a hot button issue for you.
Just because it's such a talking point for everybody.
There's more
Joe
of a
Burrow.
Sample on Lamar, obviously. With Joe going into his 5th season. Yeah, but
2 of the last 3 years went to the AFC Championship game.
50% of the time, we have seen him stay healthy.
Flip a coin.
We have seen more out of Lamar of a percentage standpoint.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, obviously his rookie season, 10 games we saw last year. He's had all of those weird injuries in the beginning of training camp and everything as well. The thing that I said during my point, though, Corey, is they don't seem to be related to each other.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm fine with saying dumb luck, right? But it is.
I mean, the knee
you
injury
can talk
is
about
not
injury
a
for any player,
non-fact.
obviously. But to bring it up for Joe Burrow is I think more than fair.
I think it'd be more of a conversation point if these are non-contact injuries or due to the way that Joe Burrow plays, and that's just simply not the case.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that it's terrible luck.
I would argue that.
Yeah, like absolutely.
Yeah,
I wouldn't sit here and get upset with you because all of your points would be 1,000%.
The injuries are literally
valid.
caused by getting blown up by Chase Young and Jadeveon Clowney. Those are what the injuries are from.
Right. And the Bengals, it seems this year have taken steps to address that. So as long as they can keep that jersey white, he should be fine.
I get it, and this is the talking point that, like, I don't blame you guys, but I
understand it's annoying and frustrating as a fan to continue to hear the same story over and over and over. But for years on end, like, he was getting pressured and sacked and hit repeatedly, and there seemed to be no resolve to the issue. And it seems like, and Todd said it perfectly, he's like, they have more depth at the offensive line this year than they've had in his entire career, and that's a great thing for you guys. But they need to keep his jersey white, and he also needs to stop trying to extend plays and get rid of the ball and or orange, whatever. Like,
I think two things can be true. I think Bengals fans have a right to be a little bit defensive about it, and I also think that
we have a right to be skeptics.
It's fair. It's a fair point of critique.
No, and honestly, I honestly think that most of the league is kind of just forgotten about this team. Right, and Joe Burrow said it best. He went on Ryan Clark's podcast, actually, Bobby. I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to that.
I haven't.
But he's like, I mean, I get it. Like, I wasn't playing, so people get it. But I got something to show them this year. So I think
that's great.
Like, kind of been the mentality. Well, it's not great for you, but the mentality has kind of been throughout the.
As a football fan, that's great. Like, I want to play.
Let me talk my shit. My shit.
Okay.
The mentality in training camp has been a chip on the shoulder. Fuck everybody else.
You know what? Fuck the Bengals. Joe Burrow's a piece of shit. He can't stay healthy.
All right, let's talk about your quarterback room. Let's go. Let's talk about the Steelers.
What a transition! I love it.
Aaron, I would imagine you're taking the over on this one. I don't know if I heard that.
Yeah, he said that. Yeah.
I took the over.
Got it. Okay, I'm also taking the over here. I think they've got the lightest schedule in the history of mankind, at least since Joe Burrow's been there. And
Here's
now
the
as
thing,
we
it's only light by AFC North standards. They still have to play all of us twice. Like
Yeah,
it's not an
that's
easy
very
schedule. It's just the easiest
Okay.
AFC North schedule.
well,
Hey,
we'll
guys,
go from
hey,
one of the easiest schedules in the league
3-3 for
to
all?
one of the
3-3 for all?
to
Good,
the
good?
most difficult
Yeah.
schedule in the league in the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
Like, you want to talk about getting fucked? We got fucked with this schedule.
It's tough. dude.
Just finish last then, dude. Just
Yeah.
do it
Yeah,
once.
this is
Just try.
Yeah,
this is
fuck off. Just fuck off for
Hey,
once.
I'm taking the fucking under. Okay, it's 8.5
Whoa.
games. I'm taking the under.
It's gonna happen.
All right. Let's
Hey.
go into a little more depth than that.
Here's the
Talk
thing.
to us about your team.
Number one, Mike Tomlin can't keep having winning seasons. Like, I love the man to death. He's got a better roster this year than he did last year. We'll see what happens. On the other hand, with the strength of schedule and the just question at quarterback, like, it should be Justin Fields. It'll probably be Russell Wilson to start the season. It's going to transition to Justin Fields. Todd said it best, maybe 3 weeks. I have kind of leaned towards that thought process because of what I've seen from the preseason.
3 weeks?
That's what I think. I do. He's such a piece of shit. I think he's gonna blow it.
But who knows? Obviously, we've got, I would argue, two of the top 15 top 20, top 15 running backs in the league between Jalen Warren and Najee Harris. Both have the capability to be 1,000-yard rushers. The wide receiver room is a big question mark. I would love the Brandon Ayuk shit to be over. We did lose our center, Nate Herbig, for the season. Off the rip out of a preseason game, which is just terrible. Yeah, dude, I just think there's so many question marks right now going into the season. Like, I would love for the Steelers to be like, hey, dude, like, our offer for you is going to be like done as of Wednesday or of next week if you don't make a decision, Brandon. Like, you either get here or you stay in San Francisco, or San Francisco doesn't pay you and you just sit the bench all year. I don't give a fuck. But, like, we just don't need any more drama there in the wide receiver room. It's been terrible over the last few years. We got better on defense. Yeah, obviously we acquired Patrick Queen, which is great. Highsmith and TJ Watt, I think are two pretty elite defenders. But, man, this division is going to be tough. I don't think anybody got worse. 8.5 is a tough line, and we have one of the toughest schedules in the NFL. So 8.5 seems high. I'm going to take the under. If we somehow magically win 9 games, that would be a miracle. So taking the under.
Wow. It's an end of an era.
Who wants to go next?
I
I'll
actually agree with pretty
I'll go.
Okay.
Can I go? Because this is my lock. I don't know if you boys
it's
remember.
mine too.
I don't know if you boys remember last year. I really shit on the Browns before the season started, and I was wrong. And I didn't feel bad about it. I didn't like being wrong about it.
I felt great about it.
Yeah, sure you did. You can go fuck yourself. Dude, this offense is just so bad, dude. I'm so sorry. Bobby, just remember, I'm not personally attacking you. We're just talking about football.
No, I don't take it personally. They don't have anybody at the wide receiver position outside of George Pickens, and
he's a great person.
This is truly the blind leading the blind on offense, fellas. Like an Arthur Smith led offense with no true defined quarterback. Fellas, I did say I do believe that Russell Wilson will fuck this up before week 4 starts. I really do feel that way. It's a fucking mess. The offense is a fucking mess. And look, their defense is good. I think Peyton Wilson is going to be a big surprise for a lot of people this year.
I forgot
just
to
in terms of
mention
sheer
him. Yeah,
athleticism and what he's capable to do. And Nate Herbig goes out for the season, but they drafted Zach Frazier in the 2nd round. He was a second-team All-American 2 years in a row as an interior offensive lineman. I think he'll integrate quickly. Being a rookie center is a challenge, but he seems like he's going to be able to kind of step in and take care of business. But fuck, it's the AFC North, and you have to play it all in the second half of the season. Just back to back to back to back to back of just getting dick slapped by the AFC North. It's over and over and over again.
Hey, Bobby, I think I'm going to week 18 if you want to go.
We'll see.
All right.
It's.
I know it will be 4 win 9 or 8.
Yes. This truly is to me like the first time where I feel like the NFL has stacked the deck against Pittsburgh to be a winning team. I feel that way. You don't just dish out a schedule like that on the back half of the season and go, it's a playoff team. Even if it was Kenny Pickett, they're not fucking going to the playoffs this year, right? Like, or whomever, Mason Rudolph, whomever it would have been. This is the opportunity for Pittsburgh to finally take their AFC North lumps for the first time since 2003. Just do it. Just do it. Just fucking have a losing season. I'm blocking the under because I'm fucking willing this. I'm talking it into existence. Fuck, their offense is bad, dude. I can't see anything.
I mean, I don't want to just keep harping on the points. It is interesting though. I mean, you're talking about the schedule. I think the way their schedule starts is very interesting. It's Falcons, Broncos, Chargers, Colts, Cowboys, which is like all the same teams that have basically been the Steelers over the last like 6-7 years, where it's like, they're hanging in there. I don't know. It's November, December, and they're still in the hunt graphic or like in the playoffs or whatever. And kind of how we project out how we've seen the Steelers over the last couple of years. Like the Falcons, not really sure how they're going to do this year. Broncos, who fucking knows? Chargers, Colts, Cowboys, no idea how those seasons are gonna turn out. So I think we're gonna know pretty early this season, just based on like 5 straight measuring stick games, of where the Steelers kind of jockey in there. Their defense always seems to keep them competitive enough. Again, Mike Tomlin has never not done this. So again, it's really hard to go against that. My brain is telling me this, my heart is telling me the other. I'm gonna take the under. I think it finally happens. Can't lock this because it's just I'm betting against something that I have again not seen since I don't think I had armpit hair. Like
pussy.
Corey,
2003.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at this roster, you just got character all around it with George Pickens, not to mention bringing Cam Sutton back, pushed a chick out of a window, went on the run from the law for 2 weeks. Let's give him a contract. So this is just
he's honestly though, he's basically free. They pay if he didn't like.
I know, but what the fuck, dude?
It's just a good value sign.
He pushed baby mama out a window, dude, and then he's running from. They didn't know if he was alive for 4 days.
It's crazy. It is crazy. It's a crazy story.
Is basically free what we also call the like the ankle monitor you got to wear.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's suspended the first 8 games though.
Yeah, that's correct. 8 games. That's what I'm saying. And if he doesn't play by week 10, they owe him nothing.
Yeah.
I gotta. If you want to be the morality police, it's tough to be an NFL fan, guys. It's
in Cleveland, right? It's tough.
Yeah, because since he's always right. No, but I'm serious. Like, there's no team that's like
you guys didn't have a run, down there in Cincy where like everybody was in and out of jail.
They're most arrested in NFL history.
Pac-Man.
Only the Vikings and the Giants have more arrests in their franchise history than the Bengals.
Don't bother Pac-Man Jones in an airport. What do you want me to say? I don't know.
I'm just like it's a tough place.
He hates flying.
No, it absolutely is. I'm just listen. No, I have no idea what this team is, but I'm confident that it's not a playoff team. So
I still just can't get the image of Russell Wilson going to the Steelers and just seeing the Zoolander scene of Zoolander showing up in the coal mines. Of like that is Russell Wilson joining the Steelers. Like that is exactly what it is.
I don't know if you all got to see it.
I have the black lung,
but that hit Bobby's brain, and his eyes went.
That bright blue jumpsuit.
Let me just make a comment on this. It should be Justin Fields, and it should be Justin Fields from week 1. Not even necessarily from a talent standpoint. I think Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, I think Russell Wilson's probably going to give you better quarterback play. Just let's be fair and let's call it what it is. But here's the thing. you've already invested more draft capital in Justin Fields than you have in Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is a $1 million asset. That's it. Justin Fields you're still on that rookie contract, which is fully guaranteed, by the way. And you've invested, I forget what the draft pick that they gave, but they gave up draft picks to get Justin Fields.
Right.
So by just literal statistics, you're more invested in Justin Fields already. That should be, let's see what we've got. Let's give him a year. Yep. Russell's here in case it just goes terrible. But why not just give it to Justin, make his team? They still have yet to name a starter, which is crazy. But no, this is the roulette strategy. It's been red. I'm betting black. And I'm going to keep doubling down on black until it hits because it's going to hit eventually. So the Steelers will have a losing season this season.
How much would you be down right now if you did that from the beginning?
Dude, you got to have a big bankroll to play big. You know what I'm saying?
He'd be down quite a bit of money.
For now, until it hits.
It's all coming back, baby.
Until it hits, or you're stuck at the
green
casino.
zero somehow.
You're stuck at the casino like Bruno Mars doing shows and in debt. So, all right. Well, Aaron, let's wrap it up here. We got the Browns 8.5 games. Same line as the Steelers. Yeah. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I have a lot of actual concerns for the Browns going into this year. Again, 8.5 seems about right. I still think this defense is going to build off of what they did last year. And I think they're going to play better on the road than they did. I mean, we saw just how phenomenal this team was on defense at home. Still think that that's going to be the case. I think Myles Garrett's going to continue to be, exactly who he is. They locked up Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who's been a cornerstone on that defense. He's built perfectly for this division. But I do have a lot of concerns. Namely, Denzel Ward gets another concussion. Really, really tough to I love the guy. I'm worried about him, quite frankly. I think this is his 5th concussion. He is a blue chip cornerback when he's healthy. And, sometimes I worry that some of these guys don't necessarily think about life after football. I don't want him to quit, obviously. I don't want him to retire because he's a phenomenal player. But at a certain point, you kind of got to worry about that kind of stuff. On offense, we still haven't seen Deshaun, really flip that switch in Cleveland since he's been here. The amount that they've given up for him is well documented. The contract is well documented. Nick Chubb, we don't know when he's going to be back. The left tackle situation, I don't know if people outside of Cleveland are aware, is in really, really bad shape.
Yeah.
One of the things too, and we didn't really talk about with, but a sneaky play here with the Bengals too, with Callahan going to Tennessee. Was we kind of got a drive-by shooting in that situation?
Yeah,
because we had to let his dad go.
Yeah,
you had to let Bill go, who was working wonders with this offensive line, and with the concerns coming into this year, I don't think that point is being talked about enough. We've seen the Browns consistently throw out a top 10 offensive line, regardless of the guys they've had to bring in and out. I'm legitimately worried about it for this year. And when you talk about Deshaun dealing with the shoulder, trying to keep him healthy. He's not necessarily a guy who's, get the ball, throw it out. He likes to move around, create. I'm taking the under here. I don't really like what I'm seeing going into this year out of the Browns roster. I think this is just going to be one of those, we got destroyed with injuries last year. We won 11 games. It was phenomenal. It was a great story. And then that season ended really quickly. It seems like that injury bug is still somehow continuously biting. You typically see teams that have terrible injury luck, like the Browns last year, kind of turns around the next season. If the early season, preseason is any indication, I don't feel that way. We know that this is going to be a tough division to win in. I can see them losing some divisional games, some games they're supposed to win. Just not feeling it this year out of the Browns. Just got to be honest about my team.
Sure. Todd.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I do. So if Jedrick Wills doesn't play, it's the guy from UC that plays left tackle again, right? Hudson.
Who's terrible. He's just awful.
Yeah. And then Conklin's obviously starting the season on the PUP list, but you've got DeJuan Jones. So
DeJuan Jones is probably better. I'm not, but you can't move one of those guys over to the left is the problem.
Right. Yeah, dude, it's a tough division. And I think that they also have a schedule that bears more towards the challenging side. And the AFC North is what it is. And if you're at your bye week and you're riddled with injuries, and it looks like after their bye week their schedule just gets tougher. And if the AFC North's healthy and they're not, it's going to be a challenge. And not basing my pick here off of injuries, but you're starting the season with a kind of a light schedule, but a lot of injuries. And I don't know. I got to take the under here too. And I'm not. Like I said last year, I shit on the Browns and I was totally wrong. So I'm trying to keep it level here. But
no, I think Stefanski just does a great job. Like they can have a bad year, and I don't think we just re-signed the guy. Like I don't think there's any massive changes that need to be made.
Except for coach of the year last year.
You've gone 3 years without a first round pick. You finally get it back next year. Like at a certain point, from a depth perspective, when you see these injuries, like you're just seeing the unfortunate, realistic scenario.
Right. Well, and the reality of it too is like, let's call a spade a spade. If Deshaun Watson stinks, you're stuck with the contract.
Yeah.
Right. Like no one's going to fucking pay him.
I think you have like a year left on, like you can get out after next year if you really want to situation. Cause at that point, we're in year 3.
Of the 4-year deal.
Yeah. Right. Like and you have Winston.
Jesus Christ. This is the 3rd year of that contract.
Yeah. You want to talk about a guy that can get on the field. Talk about Deshaun Watson.
Crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, really, you're
he hasn't played meaningful football in 5 years.
Yeah, like he hasn't played.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like we keep being can he still be a top 15 quarterback? I think he could. Yeah. But he'll never. Now that you've seen the influx of young talent and guys who have more established themselves at the position over the last 3 to 4 years, I don't think there's a realistic scenario where he can be better than like the 16th or 15th best quarterback. So you'll never get what you paid for, obviously.
It's 2 years after this year.
Fully, yeah. You can still get
but no, go look at the contract. They can get out of it after next year.
I mean, it's all guaranteed. You've punted move money. Like I'm not worried. I'll be honest with you. Just having Andrew Berry do Andrew Berry things, I'm really not worried about it. Again, like I don't think the cap exists. Every quarterback makes the most money. That is whoever was the last guy to sign. Really, all that happened is Deshaun Watson had made very clear that nobody else will ever get a guaranteed contract again. So you're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he ruined that for most everybody. So, Corey.
Yeah, I'm going to zig where everyone else is zagged here, guys. I think the Browns start the season 3-1. They got a tough first game against the Cowboys, obviously, but that's at home. Then they got Jacksonville, Giants, Raiders, Commanders. Shit, I mean, they could start 4-1 to start this season. Let's just assume that they split. That's 7 wins, like with the division, right? Let's assume they split with the division. That's a safe bet. That's 7 wins right there. We got to win one more game. We got to find 2 more wins out of the division for this team to win. I'm talking right here. The first 5 games: Cowboys, Jaguars, Giants, Raiders, Commanders. It's not unrealistic for them to go 4-1. Those are bad football teams.
And it'll be interesting when Chubb comes back and what he can do.
And then let's assume most of their divisional games are at the end of the season, right? And it could be safe to say that we get Chubb back before Halloween. So that's about when he went down last season. So a little less than a year to come back from an ACL.
Last year, yeah.
I think that's safe to say. So let's assume they split. So we got to find 2 more wins out of the division. They got the Saints, very winnable. Broncos, very winnable. What else am I? And those are the 2 I'm looking at right now as the ones that they could absolutely win. Chargers coming into Cleveland for a 1:00. That wouldn't surprise me either. And then maybe if you just want to find some security somewhere else, somewhere down the line, maybe week 18, week 18, the Ravens have the number 1 overall locked up already. right? Let's just assume like maybe that happens. They get the Ravens at the tail end of the season. Maybe that's just a walk-off win, similar to kind of what they experienced against a Joe Burrow-less Bengals a couple of years ago. So, a lot could happen here. I think this defense drags this team along this year. Let's also not forget that they might have one of the most underrated wide receivers in the entire NFL, and Amari Cooper, who back to practice just earlier yesterday. So I mean, DPJ
No, the defense is still
football.
going to be legitimately great.
They also do have the most underrated tight end in football.
Yeah,
by far. So I'm locking the over on the Browns here at a 9-win football season.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I actually agree with Corey. I'm not locking it. Obviously, I'd lock the Ravens over, but I don't think I think you guys are kind of underselling the Browns. Obviously, it's more of a hey, if they hit the over, Aaron's very happy, but
no one wants to play there.
So
yeah, I'm hedging happiness a little bit, but
yeah, I almost did that today. By the way,
it's one of those things though too.
Dude.
You I obviously feel like I have a better pulse on the Browns than 3 of you guys, obviously, right?
Sure,
so it's also one of those things where it's like, yeah, do I think that they can win 9 games? Fuck yeah, I do. But I'm also not overly optimistic about that. And sometimes it's like when you're talking about your own team, you almost feel like, no, you just want to like
stay humble.
You want to take the bias out of it. And if I'm truly taking the bias out of it, I think the under is the better bet.
Yeah, that's completely fair. Yeah, that defense in Cleveland has been pretty tenacious over the last few years. Obviously, reigning defensive player of the year, Myles Garrett. He's a scary man, and we all got to go against him twice a year. So, and then when Nick Chubb comes back, obviously he's arguably a top 3 running back in the league when he's healthy. Yeah, I mean he's unbelievable. So. I'm going to take the over. I think it's 9-10 wins max. But yeah, Corey made a great point. They've got a lot of very winnable games early on, and then I definitely see they could take 2 from Pittsburgh. So like I know you said split, but like realistically speaking, they could take 2 from Pittsburgh with how bad the offense is. So yeah, I see 9 wins being very achievable for this team.
Yeah, I guess the counter to that is with the injuries, if they stumble early, that's a very tough hill to climb out of.
Yeah. Yeah. If they end up like splitting that, going 2-3 or 3-2, like
3-1 has to happen
it has to be 3-1 for the over to hit here. If they start with anything less than 3 wins, it's going to be a giant hill to climb. So
yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I guess we'll move on to probably the worst division in the I guess you could argue the last 2 divisions are the worst divisions in the AFC. It's just which one is worse. So we're going to go to the South. We got the Jaguars at that nice mediocre line of 8.5 games. Todd, lead us off. Jacksonville.
Yeah, let's hammer through the AFC South here, boys.
Yeah, let's just.
This isn't a super sexy division. Yeah, this is to me this, and it's the AFC South in its own right is a pretty unique challenge as a whole. There's 3 teams that could win this division, right? 3 of the 4 teams really could win this division. I don't believe Jacksonville is going to be the one. I think that they're an 8-9 team. I think this is the year that Doug Peterson gets fired, and that's it. I think Jacksonville has, they have things to consider. They gave defense Josh Allen a massive contract, which was the right thing to do based on what he's done for them. But I don't know, man. I can't bet on Jacksonville having 3 winning seasons in a row, fellas.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
Taking the under.
Corey.
Yeah, I'm taking the under here as well. I think they got worse at the wide receiver position. Obviously Trevor Lawrence coming off of the injury. I think he's fine, but ETN still a really explosive player. But I'm just looking for answers outside of that for this team, and I'm not really finding it. So I think that makes sense. I'm not going to say first coach fired like I did last year. If you want my prediction, I think I was right last year.
Did you say Josh McDaniels?
No, I didn't. I was wrong. I did say Brandon Staley. Last year, so I was wrong.
It's a
But
good
no.
bet though.
Yeah, give me the under. Give me the under on Jacksonville.
Cool. Aaron,
What's the number?
8.5.
8.5.
Let's all
8.5.
again. 8.5.
What is it? 8.5?
Yeah, I got. Jacksonville.
8.5.
It's what do we think of Trevor Lawrence, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he's been what was promised, but I still think he's been better than what people make him out to be. He was a very, very high prospect coming in, and if you remove his draft capital of the number 1 overall pick and just I don't know. I like this team actually a little bit. I'm gonna take the over at 9. Thinking that sounds like a pretty solid number for them. Again, this is kind of a weaker division for the AFC. Who do they have this year for their schedule? What conference are they at? They're AFC East. Is that right? Yeah, AFC East. So still tough sledding. I just give me the over for nothing more than I think the roster's good enough to win 9 games.
Sure. I'm going to take the under. Trevor Lawrence is Daniel Jones with long hair.
Wow.
Ooh, wow.
Wow.
That's tough.
So
a whammy.
Daniel Jones does grow a nice beard, though. I don't know if you boys have seen that.
Haven't seen it, but yeah, I do not believe in Trevor Lawrence in any way, shape, or form. So give me the under. This is the end of. They're going to move on from Trevor Lawrence here within the next 2 or 3 years. So
well, they just re-signed him.
Yeah,
to
they
a
just
very large
re-signed him.
contract, so
Made him the highest paid quarterback in football. So
I just
so again earlier when we were talking about Deshaun, I'm like, I do not.
That's
care
why I said the next 2 or 3 years. I didn't say
Yeah.
now. I just said 2 or 3 years. They're gonna
All right.
they're gonna
Fair
realize
enough.
they made a mistake and they're gonna
Fair
move
enough.
on. So, cool. Let's move on. Titans 6.5 games. Corey.
Yeah, this is my lock. I have no fucking idea what this direction of this team is. I have no idea what they are doing. I have zero faith in them. I love Brian Callahan, but we've got a rookie head coach. It doesn't necessarily always spell success. So give me the under. I can get 6 wins out of this team, and the under still hits on a rookie head coach. Yeah, that sounds really good to me. I'm going to take the lock on the under for the Titans.
Cool. Todd.
I think I'm also taking the under, but I will say I think for Will Levis professionally in the NFL, this is kind of best case scenario for him getting Brian Callahan, because I mean we've all seen Will Levis's ceiling is his ceiling is pretty high, honestly. I don't know if he's ever really been truly polished to be a thrower in the NFL. I think he's always just kind of been a gunslinger. But Brian Callahan will change that. And, they paid Calvin Ridley to at least give it a fair shot, right? And DeAndre Hopkins is there too. But their offensive line is bottom 5 in the NFL, just on PFF grades. It's rough. Yeah.
Calvin Ridley just needs to stay on the field. Like, he can't stay on the field.
Yeah. But rough year down there in Nashville. They'll be nice and suited up by the time they get that new stadium built in a couple of years.
Fair enough. Aaron.
It's interesting you say that about Calvin, though, because, I mean, he did play 17 games last year, and obviously part of the reason he's missed time is, the whole gambling.
So you thought he didn't play because there would be games where he would get a target. That's what you're thinking.
Yeah. Well, no, he would start the game. Like, I was at the Bengals game in Jacksonville. He got banged up after like the first quarter. He was gone.
According to the stats I'm looking, I mean, he still had 1,000 yards, 17 games.
Okay, fair enough. That's wild.
Just to push back on it a little bit.
No, that's fair.
But Corey, the points you made, I'm rolling with you. I'm also locking the under. I think overnight this team lost their identity. You lost Vrabel, you lost Henry, and I think there's going to be the guys who still remain on this roster. There's going to be just kind of that little bit of a void. And who's going to rush to fill it? Maybe it's the right voices. Maybe it's not. But 6.5 seems heavy for this team, especially like Corey had mentioned with the rookie head coach. And I don't necessarily think that was a bad hire, or this ship can't be turned around in the next 2 to 3 years. I just think at best for Tennessee this year, it's going to be a growing pain season where you're like, all right, we won 6 games. I think Will Levis showed us enough that we can keep investing in that position. And you can still look at that as a successful season. I just don't think the wins are necessarily going to correlate with maybe how Tennessee Titan fans and maybe that front office feels about their roster as a whole. But you have Pollard, Ridley, and Hopkins and Tyler Boyd. Sounds like a really good fantasy team 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's actually fair. I'm going to follow suit here. I'm taking the under. Not really much else to add. I just don't see this team winning 7 games, especially with the offseason moves that they made. So I'll go ahead and roll right into the Texans, 9.5. This is going to be my lock. I'm taking the over. Love CJ Stroud. I'm a little concerned about the addition of Stephon Diggs and what drama that's going to bring. But this offense is really talented. I think they got better at running back. Adding Joe Mixon, obviously. Who did they have last year?
Damian Pierce. Singletary.
Yeah.
Singletary ultimately was the one.
So I would agree they got a little better. Obviously, Mixon's kind of getting in the latter stages of his career, but obviously he's got some veteran experience there on an extremely young team. So I think there's a lot of good things that he can bring to the table there. So blocking the over here. Aaron, I'll bounce it back to you.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about the Diggs thing. I think Diggs is kind of past where his elite status, but he's had unceremonious exits before with the Vikings and obviously the Bills. Those are I can understand the little bit of concern there, but I think he can come in and play his role without needing to. Nico Collins and Tank Dell are very good receivers. I think we're overblowing a little bit how good CJ Stroud and this Texans team is going to be this year. But I also think it's kind of properly priced in. I'll take the over as well. But I don't think I think this team is going to underwhelm some people this year. But just because I think it's like the easy, obvious, sexy pick, and the NFL never works that way. And I think they were early last year, and you're going to see a little bit of regression this year.
Cool. Corey.
Yeah, I think we got a little bit of that from the Bengals after they went to the Super Bowl. People were saying that they were a little early, and then, obviously they went back to the AFC Championship game. But at the same time, I don't necessarily like – so I'm going outside of X's and O's here and just kind of going gut, and sometimes you have to do that with gambling. But I don't like the way CJ Stroud handled the offseason. I
think that's more than fair, yeah.
I don't like the way he handled the glitz and glam, the fame, the clout, everything that came with what he was able to do in year one, and all credit should be due to that. But it left a bad taste in my mouth with the way that he kind of presents himself now, having accomplished literally nothing in the league. And that's just a tough thing for me to sign on. That said, Aaron, I think you hit the nail right on the head. That I think that is kind of baked into this line, because I feel like 9.5 is light compared to what kind of the hype around this team and what this team is able to do, and the fact that I think that they've got 2 pretty bad teams in their division, 2 teams that I think are going to miss the playoffs. So all of that considered, I still think there's a ton of talent on this roster. I just think, Aaron, you're exactly right. I think that they're going to be like, well, what's going on with the Texans? And then we're going to blink and they're going to be a 10-win team, probably win their division, host a playoff game, and then get pounced in the first round. But give me the over.
Cool. Todd.
Fellas, we haven't even talked about this defense at all. They signed Danielle Hunter this offseason.
Yeah,
that's a Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter combo coming off the edge.
Yeah, pretty impressive.
Arguably one of the best defensive-minded coaches in the league. They're not going to give up a lot of points, boys. That's kind of the point that I'm getting at here. I do agree with you, Corey. I think a lot of people, especially, living in Columbus, nobody wanted to talk about how big of a douche CJ Stroud was this whole offseason. Major douche alert out of CJ Stroud.
Can we give a little, and not style of play, and I will certainly say CJ Stroud is better, but is it not a little similar to after Baker's rookie year?
Not as many commercials.
Well, but it's okay. But even 4 years ago, it was different how you were a celebrity in the off season.
Yeah.
He was on every
Yeah.
podcast doing everything. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
Yeah, fair point.
So,
fair,
yeah.
fair parallel there. Yeah, this is the best team in the worst division, right? That's kind of how I see it. And you can win 10 games and win this division. I believe that. So yeah, I'm taking the over and I'm locking her in here, boys. Locking her in.
All righty. Corey, I'll go ahead and bounce back to you. We got the Colts 8.5 games. Wrap the South up.
Yeah, I love this football team. I do love Anthony Richardson, even though my boy Jordan Battle gave him a pick 6 today down there at Paycor Stadium. I love Anthony Richardson. I think that he went a little too early into the draft, but how it's really hard to not go into the draft when you're being told you're going to be a top 10 pick, which he was. Obviously, he needs to learn how to protect himself. He needs to play within himself. He needs to make sure that he's not, exposing himself to getting hit. And I think he will. I think that'll come with experience and being in the league. Also, I think we're probably looking at one of, if not the, most quickly rising head coaches in the league, which is a pretty impressive thing to say out of Indianapolis, that Irsay got a hire right, but he did. And so I'm taking the over here on the Colts. This is a sneaky wild card team for me. And if I had another lock, I would, but I'm taking the Colts over here.
Sure. Aaron.
Yeah, I typically always want to, from a statistic standpoint, be like, all right, 2 overs, 2 unders typically makes sense for a division. There's always got to be one that kind of tips the scales there for the most part. I'm going to take the over here too. I think this is going to be a division that it's 8.5, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think you could have 3 9-win teams, 1 10, kind of like what we saw last year. Houston at 10 wins, Jacksonville and Indianapolis at 9, and Tennessee at 6. Like, sign me up. That sounds exactly like what we're predicting again this year, right? Run it back. I think Indianapolis being able to win that many games last year with Garner just says, like, their offense was putting up, like, every week I was looking down, I was like, 31, 34. How did that happen?
Right.
Can Richardson stay healthy for 17 games? I don't know. The way that he wants to play football is super fun to watch, but it is not necessarily built for longevity. But I don't need that for a career. I need that for a season. Guys, he's a big kid. I think he can hold up to it. I don't know how he'll be long term. But yeah, I think the Colts have enough talent on this team to win 9 games. Absolutely.
Sure. Todd.
Fellas, I need to see Anthony Richardson actually sling the rock a little bit. I'm not. What are you giving me that look for? He's not a super accurate.
He went to
quarterback.
Florida.
He's not a super accurate quarterback, or you can't argue with me about accuracy with him. That's not. There's no proof that, and maybe in his limited time last year he completed low-level passes, right? You're going to tell me he probably had a 60% completion percentage.
I'm going to look at the stats. I've just never heard that as a knock. That's where the look came from. I've never heard that as a knock. You don't get drafted in the top 10 as a guy that has a low completion percentage.
Josh Allen did it.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
I've watched him play enough games at Florida that I'm not sold that he's
60% less. 59.5, 60%.
Call it 60. Call it 60.
Yeah, I said what I said, right? I said 60%. I just
par for the course.
No, sure. That's what I said. I said you were going to tell me that he had a 60% accuracy, and that proves my point wrong. I'm just saying that he's still a rookie in my eyes. I haven't seen him put together a full season. I'm not ready to say that the Colts can be led to 9-10 wins with a rookie quarterback. That's just really how I feel right now. Yeah. I would certainly be happy to be wrong about Anthony Richardson. He has really all the true tangibles of being the athlete quarterback that the NFL they desire a guy like him to go out there and be able to run for 70 and throw for 250. Like that would be perfect. And Indianapolis would welcome that with open arms. I'm just not ready to say that I think that he's a guy that's going to put together a full winning season yet. So I'm taking the under based on, I just don't know. I don't know what Anthony Richardson is as an NFL quarterback yet. I don't.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. So are you taking the over or the under?
I took the under. The under.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, I think this is actually an incredibly tough line. Vegas, as Aaron always says, they're pretty good at their jobs. So, I'm just gonna side with the odds here. I'm gonna take the over here on the Colts. I think I think they're a better team than the Titans and a better team than the Jaguars. I don't really know if there's going to be too much of a split there, but they always play each other relatively well. It's not a lock, but I'm taking the over. I think they can win 9 games.
And if Richardson goes down, you got Flacco. You're fine.
Yeah,
right.
Joe
You got old Joe.
Slang that thing.
Todd, I do need to double back here. The East. Who was your lock in the East? Dolphins or Jets over, or the Bills or Pats under?
Said Bills under was my lock.
Bills under. Got it.
Trying to find his yards per attempt.
Cool. Well, let's go ahead and
6.9 yards. I'm looking at it right now.
That's that. Where are you at?
Pro Football Reference.
Okay.
Seems to be a pretty accurate source of information.
Yeah, it's adjusted at 6.5.
I think Todd's point of treating Richardson still as a rookie is more than fair.
Yeah,
especially when he was.
Oh, he's played 4 football games.
Well, and everyone last year said he came out a year too early anyway.
So,
yeah, I did.
It's hard to say that when you're the fourth pick.
My point.
I did too.
But, he's got the magic ratio though. 3-1.
Yeah.
3-1. We know all about the 3-1 here at Rally Tell Sports. So
that's a superstar, baby.
Corey
in the making.
Sample size when it fits his point.
In the making.
All right. Well, let's move on to the final division in the AFC, and that would be the West. And we will start with the worst team in the West, the Denver Broncos, and Mr. Bo Nix getting the nod for the starting position.
Might disagree on worst team.
Corey, lead us off.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm starting with. Not the worst team in the.
But by the Lions, they're the worst team. That's what I.
That's fine. That's fine. This is Vegas handing you money, boys and girls. You can take the over here and you can lock it down. The Broncos are going to win at least 7 football games this year. I said it going into the draft. Bo Nix is going to be the most day one ready quarterback coming out. Preseason hasn't proven me wrong, but I'm not putting a ton of stock into that. I just like what this guy can do. I love what this guy has. He's got literally all of the tools available to him. And I'm just excited to see what he's going to be able to do. Now, Denver's got some work to do around this team. Let's just be very clear that this is not a complete team. But I think this is going to be one of the better quarterbacks that they've had in the last few seasons. And the bar's not very high for me to be right here. Give me the over and I'm locking it.
Sure. Aaron.
Yeah, I think Bo Nix is going to be that kind of quarterback that comes in and doesn't get a lick better, but he's going to be pretty good right out of the gate. I honestly kind of think it'll be similar to what we saw to like Mac Jones's solely rookie year, where it was like, oh, all right, this is okay. He can sling it around a little bit, and really when Sean Payton designs his offense, that's really what he wants. And I heard somebody make the comparison that Bo Nix is late career Drew Brees, where it's like, just get that thing out in 3 seconds and we'll move on from there. And it looks like that's what they're going to try to do in Denver. I'm with Corey that I'm going to take the over, but I'm not comfortable enough to lock it. Sean Payton is just one of those guys that I don't think he's necessarily great, but he's always right around this line. I will take the over because I'm uncertain on some other things in this division.
Sure. Todd.
Yeah, it's 5.5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, they'll win 6 games, no problem. Corey's right. Bo Nix is super polished. I mean, he is the definition of a consistent quarterback in the NFL, of what you would want in a quarterback in the NFL. Very consistent.
He's 30. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, no, but there's truly there's some validity to that. He has a ton of snaps under his belt, fellas. A ton. He's been a starting quarterback since he was a redshirt freshman. The dude has never come off the field, no matter where he's been. And I think there's testament to that. Like he's played in multiple offenses. He can play in a super high speed offense. He could play under center. Like there's a lot of versatility there. It's unfortunate that he just doesn't have a ton of weapons to be able to like truly showcase. I think Cortland Sutton is good enough to be able to like, put some magic together. But
I can't believe he's still playing. That's crazy. But go
Cortland
ahead.
Sutton?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's fine.
No, sure. It's just wild that we literally. I feel like I've been talking about him for a decade.
I feel like he's not even that old.
No, dude, he just got a second contract.
He's probably like 28. Yeah.
28. Yeah, he's
Okay.
going into his 7th season. So, like, for the NFL, that's certainly a vested veteran, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah. Anyway,
you hear 28 and you're like, God damn, I wish.
Yeah, but I'm taking the over. I like Bo Nix a lot too. This is a he also here's my stat for that. This is the first rookie quarterback that's going to start week 1 for the Broncos since John Elway in 1983.
I saw that.
Holy Dixon balls. That's wild.
Think about how many quarterbacks they've drafted in the first round since then too.
That's insane.
Paxton Lynch.
Remember that motherfucker? Holy shit.
6'7", 260, couldn't fucking throw a football more than 10 yards accurate.
Josh Rosen, baby. Josh Rosen.
Yeah. Paxton Lynch is the only player to get cut in 5 leagues.
They drafted Josh Rosen.
Five
Cardinals.
football
No,
leagues.
it's the Cardinals.
Cardinals.
You're right. JK.
Yeah. Paxton Lynch is
Todd, are you locking the over there?
dog water. No, I'm not.
Okay, fantastic. I also think the line's light, but I haven't watched enough to be confident, and I'm just going to take the over, but I'm not locking it. So let's move on. We got the Vegas Raiders at 6.5 games. Todd, throw it back to you. Raiders, 6.5.
This is the worst team in the AFC West. I'm locking the under on this one, fellas. I'm locking the under. They can't even figure out who the fuck to throw out there at quarterback. It's between Gardner Minshew and a 6th-round pick from last year. And why is Devontae Adams still on the Raiders? That's really my only question. How have you not traded him?
Look for him to be traded before week 8 easily.
Yeah. I mean, it has to be. You're wasting money. That's the definition of just like not utilizing your assets properly. Locking the under. Raiders are terrible. Not as bad as the Saints. That's it.
Got it. Corey.
Yeah, I'm taking the under here as well. My biggest thing is not about Devontae Adams being on the Raiders. It's Max Crosby being on the Raiders. Probably one of the most slept on defensive players in the league. I'd love to see Max Crosby get in a playoff game and play meaningful football again.
Yeah, if he was on a good team, he would have gotten a Defensive Player of the Year award already.
I would agree with that. I think he's in that conversation, or should be more so.
Yeah.
Little Mac
110%.
Cool.
110%.
Aaron.
Yeah, don't trust the roster top to bottom. I'm also locking the under. Just a little fun fact: Antonio Pierce faces total civil judgments of $28 million in bankruptcy, and
That's
Vegas
tight,
was
dude.
like, "Dude, you know where we should keep this guy long term? Las Vegas." Don't like it.
Also,
under.
I was just say Gardner Minshew in Vegas is like the perfect fit.
Are you kidding? We already had Garoppolo last year.
No, but I just mean like I just mean like just his aesthetic. Like
I know, but
if not
Garoppolo was like the
Jacksonville,
porn star.
Vegas.
Like, I love what Vegas is doing where they're like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Let's just put oil like in a fire.
Here you go. I'm taking the under here as well. They only got worse this offseason, so there's not much to talk about out there in Vegas as far as this football team's concerned. All right, let's move on to Harbaugh and the Chargers. 8.5 games. Aaron, lead us off.
Why is it every time it's the Chargers, it's me.
You love Justin Herbert, so I always toss it to you.
I feel like I love Justin Herbert out of the gate, which was probably rightfully so. And I've definitely cooled on him every year since then. But I started very high on him for sure. Yeah. I don't know, guys. Like, there's two sides to this coin. I think there will be a little bit of a Harbaugh bump. I think when you go from what was it, Staley to Harbaugh, I think there's finally like a competent adult in the room. Now it's Harbaugh, so I don't know how competent that adult is. He's good at coaching football, but I don't know that I'd necessarily let him like watch children or something, right? Like I wouldn't be comfortable with that.
He has kids.
He has digressed. Please continue.
I'm gonna take the over, guys. I just feels just feels.
Sure. No, it's fair enough. Todd.
Just feels I'm taking the under.
All right. Any
We're
any
not
reasoning behind it?
Yeah, we're not
just
super
feeling it?
far. I mean, no. Well, yeah, some of it is just like they've got. I really believe that the Chargers have some work to do. Obviously, they paid Justin Herbert handsomely, and he's a great quarterback to lead this offense. But I don't think I think that this is the AFC West. Really, to me, is going to have 3 teams with losing record and 1 team with a winning record. That's how I see it.
Yeah,
it's going to be one team out of the AFC West. It's going to be pretty easy for them. I think the Chargers will be lucky to win 6 games, so I'm taking the under.
all right, fair enough. Corey.
Yeah, I'm rolling with Todd here on this one. That I think that one, this is the worst division maybe in football in terms of just obviously they have the best team. It's hard to say that.
I still take the NFC South personally.
I get that, but I mean I'll make arguments.
It's not. It's right there.
I'll make arguments that their second best team would kick the shit out of the second best team in this division. So that's
agreed.
So that's just kind of where my head goes. Like my thing with like how far are we away from Justin Herbert just being a regular dude, like Derek Carr, from being Derek Carr? How far away are we from that?
2 years.
I would agree with that sentence. I would agree with that. He hasn't done anything.
Yeah, I still think when you have guys like Lawrence in the middle, like he's still better than Trevor Lawrence, right?
Well, right, but I think that they're the same. Like one's Andy Dalton and one's Derek Carr.
Yeah, maybe.
Like I think I'm not saying that that's where we're at right now, but I think we're close. That's my argument, is that I think we're close to that. And obviously Jim Harbaugh, the reason he took that job is because Justin Herbert was the quarterback. That's why he signed on for this job, because they had a quarterback in place. He wasn't going to do a rebuild this late into his career. I think that he is committed to that.
All right, you guys did a trade. You guys have fully convinced me. I want to take the under. Wow. I want to take the under on the. Honestly, no. You guys have convinced me.
I just
flip and rip it, baby.
Yeah, I don't necessarily believe in this team yet. I could see me being very wrong. I could see it just like Harbaugh. He wins.
Yeah,
like you can't argue that. He wins.
That's my only hold up here. Like there's a lot of me that wants to take the under. Obviously, they lost Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler, so they lost 2 big pieces of that offense. But yeah, there's just something
Mike
about
Williams.
the Harbaughs that you just in Mike Williams, like you just can't. Somehow you can't count them out, but
I don't think a coach really. I mean, I understand that
I'm taking the under, but like I think they're a year away from being a winning team. Like I think you need to get another draft.
Harbaugh thought this was a good team though, and how much was it him having to pull the ripcord at Michigan?
I would say it's more than half pulling the cord and getting out of Michigan.
I agree. That's kind of why I changed my tune a little bit.
Yeah, gotcha.
Good
cool.
Point.
Well, I'll move on to the Chiefs. This is actually going to be my lock. I'm taking the over on the Chiefs. They haven't shown me anything where they can't win 12 games. So taking the over, locking it in. Aaron.
Barring Patrick Mahomes getting injured, I mean, I'd lock it. I'd lock this one if I hadn't already locked the Raiders. It's the over for the Chiefs until proven otherwise.
Todd.
I don't want to spend any time talking about him.
Yeah, fuck those guys over.
They got better receiver, and it doesn't look like Rice is going to miss any time. So
yeah.
So stupid. So fucking stupid.
Yep.
And they decided Creed Humphrey 4-year extension. So
just one
deservedly
of things,
so.
They're good.
Deservedly
They're a good football team. They've consistently proven that. It is what it is. So until proven otherwise, they are the team to chase. So cool. Well, I think that's a podcast, boys. 10:30 on the nose.
Nice.
Wrapped it up. So chat, thanks for everybody being with us. Obviously, we're getting towards the end of the preseason. I know I've got 3 fantasy football drafts this weekend and 1 next Wednesday. So 4 different leagues this year. It's gonna be a nightmare, but should be fun. If anybody's
football
got
2 weeks from tonight.
Yep,
Chiefs,
2 weeks
Ravens.
from today.
Let's go.
You're gonna get college football coming in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got week 0.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Ireland, baby.
Yeah,
it's-
sweet.
It's
So
going to be
great.
awesome. So stay tuned. We'll be back next week, Wednesday or Thursday. We'll keep you posted. But until then, appreciate y'all coming through. We'll see you next week. Peace.